Welcome back, everybody, to another Nostalgia TV, The Graveyard Shift, a forgotten television. We got another round of Friday the 13th, Season 1 for you. This time we're covering the back half, talking about episodes 14 through 26. And if you're down with that, we only got 3 words for you.
Bastards are gonna own me.
Papa's getting wasted tonight.
I am completely out of ammo.
Cross my heart, smack me dead, stick a lobster on my head.
The situation has indeed worsened. You think?
And when I return, I'm gonna drink a bottle of scotch, as if it were Chicky von Richthofen's blood, and celebrate.
Afraid we're at an impasse. You really are filthy.
And fine.
Come upstairs and see my itching.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Glad to have you with us. Kevin, we're off on the second half of this bad boy. What were you thinking this time around?
Gosh, I hoped it was going to be as good as the first half of what we saw, and not like the final not the final episode, but the Baron's Bride, because I had a lot of fun up until the Baron's Bride, which is the last episode we watched for the last episode.
Yep. That was the halfway point.
Yeah, and golly, there was only, I think, maybe one episode, and that was the season finale that was comparable to the Baron's Bride. Otherwise, gosh, I had a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun too, and much like you, I was like, man, I hope the second half it gets off to a better start and sticks to landing a little bit. And while I agree with you, and we'll get to the last episode when we do our episode breakdowns here, but like when we got to that one, I'm like, oh God, we're doing a clip show for a final episode interspersed with actual narrative for the story and character arcs and what's going on. But you got to get through a bunch of recaps, and this era of recaps from so many years ago, whew, that's a bit rough.
Also, keep in mind, they didn't have binge watching back then either.
No.
We just binged all this shit this week. So, yeah. Or this week and last. So, like, it wasn't that much of a stretch for us to remember. It's like, yeah, we just watched that shit. It's like, fast forward. So, I mean, that was kind of a extra credit episode if you really wanted to watch it or just watch the ending. The rest of it, though, was a lot of fun. My only thing is I was waiting to find an episode that I remember from watching when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
I think maybe I remember one, maybe two.
I remember a handful. There's actually one on this back half that I specifically remember. And the second it started, I was like, yep, I remember that one. The other one that I remember, and I remember about like one for every like 13 episodes appears to be the average here. Mm-hmm. And I think the others that I remember are next season, actually, because there's a B episode, and I swear to God, that's got to be in the second season. I thought it was in this back half, honestly.
I remember one, and it could be in season 3 for all I know, that had a guy that was obsessed with a rock starlet and had some jewel that gave him the ability to wish whatever he wanted. And he wished his way all the way up to being her bodyguard and then her lover. And then finally that wasn't enough for him. So he decided he wanted to be her. And it was this neat scene of the two of them melting into one person, and finally he is her.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, like I really remember that in my head. Like it's probably nothing compared to what I remember at all.
Yeah, I can believe you on that one. Like, yeah, the other one I kind of remember. I only remember like bits and pieces. And I'm pretty sure it was with the new guy. I just can't remember terribly much what it's about. But I know the second I watch that episode, I'll be like, that's the one.
I think there was also one that had a haunted playhouse where like it was like huge on the inside. The kids can go inside and play forever. But certain kids didn't come out and others did. So that one I was kind of hoping to see, but I think that's probably one that was on the third season because it was a bit hokey looking.
Yeah.
I think.
You know what? Now that you mentioned that Rockstar episode, that does sound familiar.
That very well could have like ended up being something like the Twilight Zone. I don't know, but I thought it was on this.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like me with my B episode. But that being said, I actually had a really good time watching this one again. I'm like, this puts me in a happy place watching a show that I loved as a kid, and it still holds up very well. It actually is a lot better than I remembered it, to be frank with you, on an overall assessment. I really like the character work and the development with everybody. Everybody's backstory got into a little bit more, and they got to develop their relationships better with each other. Like, clearly, once you hit this second half of the season, everybody's chemistry goes up a level. You care about these people a whole lot more, from Jack to Ryan to just basically everybody you see in this show is like wonderful. And I mean, we get the same three all the time, but we've heard about Rashid throughout the season a couple of times. And then we meet him in the final episode. Kind of odd to bring him into a clip episode, but between Mickey, Ryan, and Jack, like, they develop so wonderfully that when one of them is missing from the episode, it's like, where the fuck are they?
Yeah, it is sorely noticeable when they're missing.
Did they get the week off? Because there was a point, there was like 2 episodes in a row with like hardly any Jack or no Jack. And then when he shows up, I'm like, Jack's back.
Yay!
Yeah.
It is noticeable. Jack's my favorite. He really is. Like he and Ryan both, I love their relationship. Like, Ryan is the son that Jack would have really loved to have had things worked out with one of those 2 women that, kind of got away.
Well, and as we find out in the final episode, he did have a kid at one point.
Oh.
Peter.
Really? Huh. Well,
yeah.
He will just throw that shit any which way, won't he?
Well, we don't know exactly how
Lewis's wife. He had a thing for this other lady.
Yeah. Well, when you get to that age, can you count less than the number of your fingers on your hand, Kevin?
No. Nope.
Stow them wild oats when you're young.
I'm so glad I don't have HPV.
It's a bit more than I could bear.
Anyway, we're not going to get into all that about my cursed artifact and what terrible things come along with the side effect of that.
No, you just get forced to watch current day shows and wonder, what am I doing with my life?
Oh. People are like, what show are they talking about again? Dr. Phil?
It's marvelous, everybody.
Anyway, there was no point in this back half of the season where I was like, again, starting to feel like things were degrading in quality. Things remained consistent. There was no angle, like you said. If somebody was gone one week, there was no like pair that you preferred over any other. Like you did enjoy each pairing, but you missed that third wheel every time there was somebody noticeably gone.
Right. You normally wouldn't think that with a show with just like 3 main characters, but where it's designed, just these 3 should always be the people you're thinking about at all times. But like, Jack is world traveled. He's always doing research. He's definitely going to be doing other things too. And these 2 are manning the store. And so there's always that fun dynamic on, well, there's going to be times when Mickey's going off somewhere. And then it's just Jack and Ryan. I think in the next season, I'm pretty sure we get a couple of those episodes where, Ryan's gone for a week, but we get Mickey and Jack together, and then all the way around. I think that gets it in a bit more of a rotation because they're starting to really figure out their formula with these episodes. They're maximizing their time with this cast by not they don't have to be in the whole episode. You actually get a start to each episode now with basically the setup for the cursed object and the situation it's in. Whereas before, we'd start our episodes with these three, and then they figure something out or they read a headline. Now we're actually getting the other story first, and then we get brought in with that story, and then our crew here, they jump right in and they start dealing with however they get aware of it and then resolving the issue. So they really got that down now. And I really appreciate that because a lot of the beginnings of these episodes are really interesting and really engaging for the audience. And sometimes they're pretty horrific too. Like these episodes are fucking dark and bleak, and there's a lot of death. So if you're down for that, this is your show.
Yeah, like they took a lot of flack from the pearl clutchers, for lack of a better term, your Christian Coalition and the people that were just really out to get Paramount and New Line specifically for Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. They thought this had something to do with the movie franchise, so they were just out to get it. Had no idea what it was about, but they were out to shut it down. Because
you mean they were just reading the headline or the name of the show and not actually watching it, Kevin? How dare you insinuate? Wait a minute.
They didn't have a leg to stand on, but they were out there, trying to
peeing on that horse anyway.
Uh-huh.
You know what that reminds me of, Kevin?
It's like always, Ryan. We're on our own.
We're on our own, everybody.
And you know what? That's too bad. I mean, because the show was dark for its time. Like they didn't show a whole lot of stuff like this. Like on cable, sure, you had Tales from the Crypt. Well, at least that was coming in the pipeline anyway,
and coming in our pipeline too soon.
Giggity. But like this was ahead of its time in its way, and I think that's why it was so popular. Like it was not shticky. It really wasn't. Like it took itself seriously. It wasn't jokey at all. It wasn't campy. It wasn't like a Friday the 13th movie that was campy. It was a wink and a nod at the TV at you. Not that that's a bad thing. This was just more serious in a way. I don't know.
Well, along those lines, I'd bring up like how this is a little bit different than the Friday the 13th show, where this is completely separate and it actually stands on its own. It's just you wonder why they name it Friday the 13th. We got into that in our previous episode on how that actually came about. So if you want to catch up on that story, check out our back episode. You won't regret it. You'll enjoy that episode like hell. But, to that credit, the show was able to stand on its own without any reference. It would have been cool to have an Easter egg or two, but by comparison to like Freddy's Nightmares, which relied heavily on the lore of Freddy, and Freddy's the specter over everything. And while that was a strength of that show because you had Robert Englund involved and he was basically pulling the puppet strings, if we're going to get that kind of a show here, that would be Uncle Lewis in every goddamn episode, playing with everybody's feelings, haunting the store, doing everything like that. And it would just be a drag on this show. And then you could say, well, that's ripping off Freddy. At least with this show, it could stand on its own. Yeah. And it played to its strengths. The acting got better, it didn't get as hokey at times. And they tackled some serious themes. Like Freddy's show would tackle serious themes too. So to the credit of both shows, they were not afraid to go for it.
Yes. They didn't have as much sex in Freddy's Nightmares. I'm sorry, they didn't have as much sex in this as they did in Freddy's Nightmares.
That was one of the big changes, yes.
Yeah, they had more violence in this than they had in Freddy's Nightmares, I think.
Freddy's was a little more Red Shoe Diaries by comparison.
Yes, like it was kind of saucy, hot.
Because we reviewed that show too, everybody. So check our backlog for that.
With a box of tissues, even.
Yeah, there's a few hotties in that show too. Just
Miss
saying.
Mariska Hargitay appears once or twice. We could not complain about that.
No.
But there were more mutants in this than there were in that show. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, mutants? We're talking about the violence. Anyway, this show has a lot more like arterial spray. It had a lot more like juicy sound effects in the Foleys.
Yes.
They were really good about that. It was more cerebral horror, where you had to think about the story and use your imagination for the story that they were telling. Sometimes you'd have to use your imagination to make that scarecrow move, or to make it scarier than what it actually looked like. But it actually, once you utilize that part of your imagination, you had a great time with this show. And it was that scary. It was violent for its time, because again, you didn't get to see shit like this that wasn't on cable.
Exactly. And, you know, this was the syndicated market. So this is how it worked now, if this was on an actual network TV in a primetime slot, they probably would have had to have changed quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, this was pretty much Fox at early stages of Fox. So it's like they let it slide.
Yeah, even though it was technically like what was this, CBS?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Paramount CBS. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Paramount. Yeah.
Yeah, but I appreciated the hell out of this show. Love my DVD set, everybody. Now, for extras on there, all you basically get are some network promos and a sales presentation, which I did not watch.
No, I didn't either. Like I remember seeing a lot of the commercials for it when we watched Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
So I had that flashback to it. I didn't need to see it again, especially seeing like the clip show today. I was kind of like, no, not watching this again.
God, I remember when like these clip show episodes were usually like the 14th episode. Like after that break between the 13th episode and then the few months you'd get off while it was like, you know, November, Christmas, January, and then it would come back in like the spring. That's when you would get that clip show, because it would remind you of everything that was going on in the show between those extended breaks. These days, nobody really gets that because the shows are only like 8 to maybe 12 episodes, and then it's done.
I'm just thinking of Disney being like, hey, we could pad episodes, or we could pad series with clip shows now too.
For the first 8 minutes of almost every show. We got to pad that runtime, make people watch through it. Can't skip it. Can't fast forward.
But in all fairness, that's pretty much like that defines the first 10, 15 minutes of every Friday the 13th film up until like part 6, where it recaps
Is that
everything.
In part 5 too? I did not end up rewatching that. So
I don't know about 5. I don't want to watch it again, but like the first 3 sequels are all like, and then don't forget this happened. Oh, and now we have to pay all those people again. Damn our budget.
Yep, and then we got to tack on a few more minutes for each sequel that comes there after the first one. So when you get to part 4, it's like 14 minutes in, we're getting to the actual story.
But we have to keep it at, an hour and 29 because our audience is stupid. Anyway.
And they just want to see sex and death.
Which is a
spoiler alert.
There's a little bit of sex in this show. A lot of death.
Yeah, the sex in this show is actually pretty tame, and mostly it's like you see him kiss, you see him fall into the bed. That's it. And that's usually with Mickey. If it's Ryan or Jack, you just see the kiss and then the camera cuts away.
Yeah, we don't want to see Jack fall to the bed. Sorry.
Although, he tapped that in this second half.
Yeah, Jack.
Everybody got laid in the second half, actually.
Ryan got with the barely legal fucking Amish chick. That was kind of cool.
And then in the next episode, he fell for another girl. I'm like, wow, that was pretty quick, Ryan. That'd be one of my arguments is like some of the episodes could have been kind of shifted around a little bit to where it felt a little more balanced instead of so heavy in spots. Like, don't do 2 Ryan episodes back to back. You could have moved one of those episodes a little bit sooner or a little bit later.
Well,
And I would have put the clip show at episode 14.
part of the problem with that was like the first Ryan episode was a 2-part episode in general. So
Yeah.
it was really 3 episodes. So
Yeah.
that I
The
could
Ryan trilogy of death and misery.
Yeah, but that 2-part episode was killer, man. That was like community theater in its finest.
What was that? The Pennanites or something like that?
Yeah. I don't know
Yep.
exactly what that means. Pennanites.
I think they were trying to use the word Mennonite without saying Mennonite.
Yeah. And because Mennonites are not nearly as restricted as Amish people are, and these people are clearly more restricted than the Amish.
Bingo.
And I was trying so hard not to laugh. Like, they have their own ways and their own laws. It's like,
including burning at the stake. Let's fucking go.
Without due process or habeas corpus.
Judge, jury, and executioner.
Like, wait, this is still 1987 in America. Fuck.
This isn't 200 years ago. 3. Go back to Salem.
I want to go down to the Muslim community down the fucking road and get a retrial. This is bullshit. Bullshit.
Oh my god. That was so okay. So we'll get into our breakdowns now. Like, since we're basically kicking off with the Pennanite episode. Ryan, they're basically going after the quilt of dreams. And this one, where if you fall asleep with the quilt and the other person is asleep as well, you can go into their dreams and you can actually kill them in their dreams. So it's kind of a little Freddy-esque sort of 2-parter. And the reason why they broke it up into a 2-parter is because Ryan decided, I'm in love with a barely legal Pennanite girl, and I'm staying behind because my life sucks. And I'm so in love because I only met her like a day ago. Dude, zip it up. Get to know her a little bit more. You're about to go into a life sentence for no reason. And ultimately, he does not stay there, but that's where the cliffhanger was, is he chooses to stay. Mickey goes back with what she thinks is the quilt, and it proves to be a fake. So Jack and Mickey got to get back in a car that keeps breaking down on the way back there, miraculously. And ultimately, Ryan finds his ass being found, accused of murder, and they nearly kill him, but they don't kill him because they fling snow, Kevin, to put out the fire that he is trying to be burned alive at. But they find out everybody's a dickbag. They all die. Quilt is saved. Ryan is saved. Everybody goes back to their merry lives.
Sort of. I mean, the preacher's kind of fucked. His daughter turns him in for murder. He murders the chick that was murdering everybody in the first place.
Effie.
Because she wanted to rule the community.
It was kind of Game of Thrones, everybody. She was doing the Cersei Lannister sort of route. Like, I'm the one who wants to sit on the throne. And what I'm going to do is every time he's going to get engaged to some other hussy, I'm going to kill them all. And anybody who finds out what I'm doing, I'm going to kill him too. And ultimately she gets married to him. She's like, finally, I can get some with this guy I've been pining for years. But what ends up happening is he's like, I think I got a headache. I'm going to go to bed early. And they're both under the quilt. She thinks she's going to get him. He ends up turning the tables on her. And he kills her in the dream by snapping her fucking back in half.
That was cool.
That was dope. And then he turns into the asshole. He's more ramped up of an asshole after that. Because up until then, he's just a dick in general.
But like, it's very insinuated that he's been embezzling funds,
Yes.
and they have an inquisitor that's auditing everything there. And so now he's got to kill this guy in order to retain his secrets and his leadership position. And so, of course, he's going to utilize the quilt to kill that guy.
And then frame Ryan for it so that his daughter is then freed up from his corruption as an outsider.
Yeah. And everything was just so very acting in a community theater setting. And
I was like, are we watching Hamlet? Because you need to re-glue your mustache, buddy. There were times part of the Mennonite beard was kind of pulled apart, and I'm like, I wanted to touch the screen and go, poke it back up, buddy. Everybody's beards were totally glued on, so
even the ladies, it was gross.
Tell me about it.
So that's probably where I had the most fun this season. That not trying to be like, is that a pentagram or a never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
The colors matched an old socialist flag I'd seen from a long time ago. Yeah.
And that's with a Y, everybody.
And then they narcoleptically just like passed out under this evil fucking blankie.
Yeah, they fell asleep. Effie fell asleep like pretty quick, and she even got to somebody who was wide awake walking down a hall.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna kill this bitch. Like, super
just wrap yourself in
excited.
a blanket, go lay down, and just close your eyes. You didn't actually have to go to sleep for this one.
Sleep.
I was like, I think you just broke your own fucking canon for this episode. You broke your own rules.
Well, they kind of do that by the end of the series anyway. There's 2 episodes that make 0 sense.
Yeah.
Like, they break the formula of the show. And if it didn't have decent writing, those would be episodes I'd be kind of like, yeah, you could skip those. And that's the pipe dreams and gosh, was it the Pirate's Promise?
Oh, with the foghorn?
Yeah, maybe it wasn't that one. It was Pipe Dream and something else. Where basically,
Badge of Honor?
Oh, Badge of Honor, where like
Yeah.
they don't get anything in return for the object killing people, like other than just them killing people. Like, it's a murder weapon.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, there was no. They got this in return of sacrificing people. Like, Ryan's dad just lit this pipe and the smoke would kill people. It didn't make him famous, or he didn't get anything in return. He just killed people with the smoke. So it's like, yeah, okay.
Well, that was a weird episode too, but
it wasn't bad.
No.
But had that not had Ryan's dad in it, I don't think that again would have been an episode where I'd been like, you know what? I'm gonna remember that one, or I'm gonna rewatch that later.
And yeah, that's one of the least memorable ones for me. But there was things I liked about it, but there was quite a few I'm like, that makes like no sense.
Kind of, yeah. And then him being an arms merchant. I'm like, this is so random and weird, but fun.
All right, Kevin. Let's start in order now.
All right.
Episode number 4. No, that was actually good to talk about that one because that's the one I really wanted to talk about most anyway. But episode 14, Bedazzled. We relaunch into the second half of the season, and what we got on this one is, what the fuck was this one?
This is the booty shorts that say "bootylicious" on with gems on the butt.
Ooh.
Oh, not be. Oh.
No, Elizabeth Hurley. Shit.
Damn.
No, this is the one with the lantern where they use the lantern to
find pirate gold or like sunken treasure.
Sunken treasure, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that treasure chest was down there until the light shone upon it. I swam right by that, didn't know it was there. But the lantern required juice in the form of incinerating somebody.
Which was awesome. Like
The
the light.
person who touched the treasure that you located, they're the person who had to die.
Like my wife was, I was trying to explain to my wife what that was, that the light was so concentratedly hot that it lit him on fire. I'm like, do you know what the concept of the 1940s death ray was? Like, do you ever see Superman versus the Mad Scientist? That's what that is, but from hell.
Pretty much. I mean, I really like that idea, but man, that lantern was fucking huge.
Yeah, it was. It was like really bulky and awkward.
And it actually broke in one scene when Mickey and the dude were like struggling with it, and he tackled Mickey. Damn thing fell down and broke in half, and in the next scene, it's back together again.
His assistant in that, the guy that gets shot by the cop.
Oh God,
That's the cop from Half Baked. That was.
oh it is.
Yeah, that was screaming, "That horse was a diabetic!" Butter stuff!
There's a bunch of fun cameos we're getting to soon too, everybody.
Yeah. But I mean, I really liked that episode.
Yeah.
I considered that to be the pirate episode. So when we see the Pirate's Promise later on, I was kind of like, well, okay, hopefully that's as good as this one, because this episode was pretty good for all intents and purposes. Like
Well, it was a good relaunch to the second half. So
yeah, like it didn't do anything with time travel or anything like that, like we saw in the previous episode. It was about modern day pirates, like not anything from like the 1700s or Pirates of the Caribbean. It was modern day piracy, and it was really kind of cool.
Right. I really like that because at the time that was a thing back then. So
Good.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, I was going to say it still is, just not as cool as that. Now it's all disgusting and weird. And
Yeah, very, very weird. I mean, I really enjoyed the episode too. I really liked how Mickey took care of everything. But my lingering question on that episode was, what did Mickey do with all the bodies and how'd she clean up everything?
I don't know.
Because that was the next morning when Jack and Ryan came back from wherever they were at. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, they were off to the astrology conference.
Something like that. But it's like, the cops are already all taken care of. Babysitters are already all taken care of, even though
all the dead bodies are fine.
Yeah, like the kid's already told his mom everything that happened, and she's like, "That's such a funny story. Oh, you guys killed people this weekend."
Babysitter of the year, everybody.
And like several times, Mickey's just kind of like, "Oh, nothing happened. Just a boring old weekend while you guys were away."
Yeah, well, you two idiots were complaining about everything under the sun and how tired and exhausted you are, and she's like, yeah, I kicked some ass, killed a bunch of people, cleaned up the whole fucking store, took care of business.
Got held hostage, avoided Annabelle again.
Oh, yeah. They kept going back to that doll just to remind everybody. He got that back in the last episode, too. So that was a really good callback. But I thought Robbie did a pretty good job in this episode. There is an argument that could be made about, oh, the second she became a hostage, she turned into a soft, whiny, I need to be rescued. And 5 minutes later, she's trying to fucking smash this guy and outsmart them. And she relatively does outsmart them.
Yes, because
the main dude was just like fucking Michael Myers on speed.
Yeah, there was like, you smash his head, he's right back up already. Like, he's not asleep at all. Like, he gets right the hell back up.
And he's not even super powered or juiced up or anything. He's just nuts.
He just wanted that hit the lantern.
My Green Lantern's might.
It shows me the booty when diving at night.
That's your duty. You better get that booty.
Hey,
God, I'm horny.
But she wasn't damsel in distress. In general, her character was not like that.
No.
They tried not to make her like that.
If it was just a shock reaction to something real quick, and then she got over it.
Yeah, because there's plenty of times where she's like basically had to slap Ryan back into reality too.
Oh dear God, yeah. I like that side of her actually. It's like, you're my fucking cousin. Get your shit together, bitch.
A little bit. They have a fun dynamic that could have and should have been, explored.
Yeah.
Almost in a Pornhub situation, which almost anyway.
Oh, speaking of a hub, how about Vanity Mirror number 15, Kevin?
Yay!
Compact that, as far as I know, never comes back again.
I thought that was cool. That was kind of an important episode. One, because we know somebody in that episode, so hooray! Zach Ward is in that episode, and I'm always super excited to see Zach. And speaking of the
Shout
beard,
out Zach.
I love him, dude. Speaking of the beards coming off in the Pin-A-Night episode, the L's on their varsity jackets were not pinned down at all. So it's like if he turned a certain way, you could see like the letter popping off the jacket.
I noticed that too.
And it wasn't just him. So it's not like, someone go stick it back on. It was everybody wearing a jacket.
Oh, yeah.
But I liked that episode because, like, one, you see the object cross multiple hands.
Multiple. And never is located. It actually goes missing again at the end. I mean, somebody else does pick it up, but this is the one time they don't recover the artifact.
Yep. And that's why I highlighted it, like, very interesting. They lose. They actually lose. And they lose something. Each individual person loses something in an episode here and there. Jack loses his fiance.
Oh, God, yeah.
In this, they actually lose the artifact. They don't get it back. Everyone dies, and they don't save the day. And they have to go home and sleep with that at night. And it's just a fucked up ending. And I loved it.
Yeah, I love that. The fact that we're not afraid to be dark at a time when all the other shows on TV were relatively playing it safe, especially for genre outings. Like you had Next Gen at the same time. I mean, yes, you still had Freddy's Nightmares, which was kind of bleak too, but like everything else, like War of the Worlds or anything else at that time, most of those shows were playing it safe.
Yes, they had to have the hero win at the end.
Yeah, and for the most part, our heroes would win. They just wouldn't get through an episode unscathed. One of them would always be having to deal with some bullshit that happened in the episode. So they were always fighting against something. And even Jack says, when you're fighting evil, what do you expect? This isn't a happy and easy fight. And that's something that carries through in like other shows like Supernatural. There's a bunch of other shows that deal with things like this. And as a callback to their show, they treat it just the same way. And its influence, I see it on other shows. So Warehouse 13, we can go down the list, but those shows reference and keep that spirit alive.
How many times did Ash try to get rid of Pablo and Kelly because he didn't think he could keep them safe?
Exactly.
And he would tell them that I love you guys too. Well, he would not say it outright, but he loved them too much to, risk them getting hurt.
I need an Ash versus Evil Dead clip or two in our system here.
We do.
Yeah.
But anyway, I really liked the Vanity episode.
Yeah, what really struck me about that one is how psycho the sister was, and that like in this episode you also see like every time the person uses the compact, their face gets uglier and uglier and uglier as the episode goes along. And it's very small notices and adjustments, but like the more the boils and the cysts and the facial deformities keep coming along, it's like every time you come back to them after being away watching somebody else for a minute or two in a different scene, come back to that psycho Helen, and she's a little uglier and uglier as the episode goes along. It's like, wow, that's actually a nice touch that they never actually specifically state in the episode. But as the viewer, if you're watching, you pick that up and you don't feel like you need a spoon-fed explanation and exposition about it. It's just, hey, that makes sense. That's kind of her payback, but she's also a complete nut job who totally wanted to score with her sister's boyfriend, and in the very end, she kills herself with the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Takes them both out. I'm like, whoa, holy shit! She took them both out.
But Jack saved the girl, or Jack saved the sister. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
What are you waiting for?
Oh my god.
Do
Took a
it!
flying leap is what I wrote down.
I thought that was great. Like, it was a really pretty scene. It was maddening. Helen was completely mad. It was really beautiful. And now that you mentioned the progression of ugliness, all I could think of was she's got HPV. She's got HPV. It's on her face. Look at the warts. That only happens to guys. Don't worry about it.
Yep. But what doesn't also happen to guys are tattoos, Kevin. That is episode 16. The Asian gambling mafia spin. Where when you tattoo somebody with the possessed tattoo needles, they come alive. They kill somebody. They take their soul's essence and give somebody utter and pure amazing luck.
Well, I thought they were cool. Like, the people could have stopped
Great
drawing.
idea.
Yeah, the people could have stopped drawing bugs. That would have been fantastic.
Well, they did draw like an alien hand at some point.
Right. I appreciated that. Like,
yeah,
that's cool. That's not going to fuck me up at night. Like, these people waking up and seeing like a tarantula come to life on their leg or their inner thigh, like so close to their no bits. It's like,
Well, when he did that in the opium den and he tore the girl's, skirt, at first I'm like, yo, we're getting kinky up in here. But then she just sits back and she's like, I'm high on opium, whatever.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, oh my God, they're in a real dragon den. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!
I didn't remember that part.
Like, this really makes me think of the Tosh.0 bit, is it racist? Because this episode is extremely stereotypical.
Yeah. I mean, back then nobody gave a shit. These days, they may not have aged so well.
This is not proper representation. Like, someone's gonna get mad rewatching this in the future. But it was a really cool episode. I liked the concept of it. Yeah. This guy was a gambling addict, but to the stereotype, like, he wanted to be a big man, and gambling was the easy answer to do that, and then murder was the easy answer. And it's like, when does it stop? It doesn't. I love it. I love it so much. Temptation and sin.
The downfall of addiction, everybody.
Yeah, kind of. Like, that's really what they were getting at, because like the last game that he can get into was playing Russian roulette.
Oh, that was brutal.
That was fun.
I was counting chambers too as they were going around. I'm like, this only ends one way. It's gonna be with him. And the dude across from him was just like, click, 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 click. Like, he knew.
It was fucked up. And then trying to kill his sister to win. You're just kind of like, man, God's not going to let you fucking win. Like, you should know you're going to lose.
But anyway, it's been David Lopan. Never would have gotten to that point.
No, it was Key Luke, dude. It was the grandfather from Gremlins.
Yep. Well, that's what I was thinking, like half the episode.
Yeah, which is why you couldn't, like, call it extremely racist because they hired a reputable Chinese actor, but still pretty racist.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's Racist Thursday.
but the concept of the tattoos was really neat. I did like the thing coming to life. What was on the sister? Was it the tarantula?
Snake.
The snake. Oh, that's right. It was the coral snake.
The most dangerous snake in the entire world, Kevin.
Yes, yes. Next to the asp and the rattlesnake and the mamba.
And the other 7 deadlier snakes than that.
Yeah.
Well, I did like the fact that they used like a healing needle that was enchanted by a monk or however that was described to actually like take care of that snake and get it off her and save her life.
Yeah. Today it would be like a healing laser that
Yeah.
a dude did.
And then tattoo removal.
Tattoo, yeah, zap it off. It was neat though. I like the concept that Kilu knew that they were cursed, that the ancient
Knew right away.
inscriptions were they were evil and wanted to give them back, and had medicine for it. So I mean, it was a fun story. It wasn't bad. It wasn't uncomfortable, and it wasn't boring either. Like you said, like the mafia guys after him, are they going to break his thumb? What game are they going to put him into? It was all interesting.
Yeah, my only kind of issue with the episode, but in and of itself, was the fact that grandfather called and said we want to give these back to you. Then the second they show up, oh, they got stolen. Oh no, he still has them, but I'm not going to give them up. I'm not going to give them up. I'm not going to give them for like half the fucking episode. He's like, no, I need to protect my grandson, even though I want to get those needles away from him. I'm not going to tell you how to get those needles. It's like, well, then why'd you fucking call him in the first place?
Because I'm very passive aggressive.
All right, fine, Grandpa.
We have ways of doing things. You have to really want it.
Yeah.
We're not going to help you get it.
Well, and also Robbie changed her hairstyle in this episode a little bit too. She got more bangs at this point, and then it was a little more down instead of up and frizzy like it is in most other episodes.
There's one episode where she has her hair done up almost like the Bride of Frankenstein, and it's not that it looked bad. It was just up, and back. You're like,
oh, that was that episode where Ryan was playing with the electric ball. That was the electrocutioner episode, I believe, because you touch the one ball and it makes your hair all frizzy and everything.
Yes. God, I love those.
We're actually getting pretty close to that one. The next one we got is Brain Drain. And the start of some interesting cameos continues.
So this one was fun. It was different. Like the artifact was, I don't even remember what they called it, but it was this big device that transferred intelligence from one person into the other. So this thing would have taken up like a good quarter of the store if Lewis had it sitting in the front room. So how the scientist found it is a little beyond me.
Yeah, well, and it was transported from across the world a couple of times too. This is what it sounded like. And I'm like, okay. And in the next episode, you get another one that involves like a giant chair as well.
Oh, that
which is
one.
kind of, yeah. So it's like, okay, we're pairing up a couple similar episodes again, but this one was pretty interesting. It was kind of like tackling the whole artificial intelligence, trying to give intelligence to a gorilla brain and getting it to speak a little bit later on, which was very fucking creepy and very sci-fi, which I totally liked. But just the whole concept was just funky as hell, but it oddly worked.
Did it end with the woman's intellect being put into the chimpanzee brain? Or was it
No, it took all the intellect and put it into the
into the
chimpanzee brain,
chimpanzee?
but it
That's
also
right.
killed that brain because it speared it too hard.
Oh, fuck.
So everything was lost in a wash in the end.
That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, they killed the fucking guy in it too.
Coco just want to live.
It's also the episode where Jack got reacquainted with his first engagement. That was it. He broke it off with her because he didn't want to go to Kenya. He called it Kenya. It was Kenya. He didn't want to go to Kenya while she was doing work there. He wanted to continue to travel the world doing his usual shtick.
Yeah, she was doing Doctors Without Borders or some shit like that, and he was off collecting magical items, not realizing he was collecting magical items. Yeah, I mean, the story was solid. It was fine. It's just as soon as that she said yes to marrying Jack, you knew she was going to die. And I was like, oh, man, that sucks for you. I kind of liked you.
Yeah, I literally wrote down, will you marry me? Yes. And I wrote, oh, she dead. I mean, it's a little tropish because we've been watching this stuff for years, but like you see it coming a mile away. And but she also was able to use what was left of her intellect to assist in taking out the bad guy. So
that's where it got a little stupid. I'm like,
I know.
Okay, so no one else has the nerves, any sort of intellect whatsoever to wipe their ass, and she could like move a lever knowing what it's going to do, and you're just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. Somebody had to pull it.
All right.
But it wasn't the worst episode. Again, it's not a time travel episode.
That's true. I mean, brain swapping, intelligence on all that level, it was just kind of goofy all in general, but
well,
you know, at least it was something different than the usual object. This one actually transferred things. It didn't straight up like.
Yeah, but like the other artifacts, it gave you something in return for the murderer. Anyway, but it was one of the episodes where, like you said, they used a little bit more sci-fi than they used horror, and it worked out okay.
Oh yeah,
but you did notice the lack of horror and more of the sci-fi.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I'm trying to figure out who the hell this guy, Dr. Pangborn. I'm trying to figure out where the hell I know him from. I know he was in The Mask. He was like Sweet Eddie. Oh, he was in Briscoe County Jr. He was Will.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. I'm like, I know this dude from somewhere else. And he was in War of the Worlds.
Yes.
So, and that begins the cameo fest again. I keep saying starts and begins. It's been going on for a couple episodes so far this season, but yeah. So that's where we know him from.
Sweet Eddie.
Who was he in War of the Worlds? Malzor. Martin Cole. Is that the second season?
I don't know. It could be the first season, and I've put that shit out of my memory.
No, he's season 2.
Okay.
So anyway, not too much else to talk about that one, other than in this episode, you also see what street Curious Goods is on. It's Druid Avenue.
No, I'd caught that the street address was 666 in the first episode, but I had not caught Druid Avenue before. That was pretty clever.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever caught that so far. I didn't even look up like wiki or anything like that. I was just like, Druid Avenue. That's a pretty clear shot of that too. So keen eyes will catch that.
Way to go, Lewis.
We see what you were doing there, buddy. Did you draw like some druid runes around the building too?
Prunes. Just because he's old doesn't mean that. Oh.
Well, that being said, episode 18, Electrocutioner, the electric chair, where they couldn't really kill somebody and he ends up coming back to kill everybody who wrongly accused him and tried to kill him.
Yeah, so boy, this was a loaded episode. I liked this a lot. The guy was wrongfully accused, and then the warden. What was it? The warden? No, somebody was so fucking pissed that the electric chair didn't kill the guy that he was like, hit it again.
That was the former DA, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
I forgot the character name. I didn't write that down, but it was the DA who was like, hit it again.
Yeah, and the warden's like, you cannot do that. That goes against the Fifth Amendment. Like, sorry.
Can't kill him. He's already been confirmed dead. Do it fucking again.
Yeah, like once you execute somebody, like once you throw the switch and turn it off, if there's still a pulse, well, no, I think at that point, if there's still a pulse, you could do it. But like if you declare somebody dead, and yeah, that's.
And then 30 seconds later, they somehow come back. It's like, oh shit, it's Shocker.
Yeah, well, sorry, they already served their debt to society, as it were.
Yeah, you're just going to be smelling burnt hair for the next day or two. That's all.
Forever.
So
this guy somehow manages to survive the chair, and then gets to
return to dentistry, Kevin.
Returns to dentistry, and buys the chair back after the prison is decommissioned.
Wow, blue light special.
And he turns it into a kid's dentist chair that
looks like an electric chair at the same time.
Yeah, it's a cross between a high chair and an electric chair.
It's so goofy. I should have done a still or a snapshot. I might still throw that in, everybody. So if a picture's appearing over us in post, I added that in.
Yeah, and all these kids, these hip kids, are talking about how cool and safe the doctor is right before he nukes them. And somebody's always walking in right after he kills somebody, and their body just like evaporates and disappears, but no one smells the smoke and the hair.
Right. Well, and the scent would still be all over the clothes too, so it would be lingering like a lot longer. The one dude just strolls in and he's like, oh, what's going on in here? Okay, nobody's here. Bye.
Yeah, like
dear God, he literally just threw the clothes down by the fucking door.
Yeah, there's the shoes right there, still smoking.
Still smoking. And it's a no smoking zone.
My biggest problem that I had with this episode is in the future, when he's got his dentist license back and he's got his curly perm going, is he looked like Daniel Radcliffe trying to play Weird Al Yankovic. And so it was really hard to dislike him. Like, I have an instant trust for this man. Like, I would be killed by this man. That's horrible. And that's a compliment. Oh, we lost Jeff. That's a compliment to Daniel Radcliffe. Like, he owned Weird Al in that movie, and this guy looks just like him. So there's like an instant level of trust.
What's that?
Oh, I was just re-explaining that that's a compliment towards Daniel Radcliffe. Like, he owned the role of Weird Al. So like, when I say that this guy looked just like him, like it fills you with the level of trust. Like, oh, well, he's automatically okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have a gentle touch, Doctor.
Well, he kept wearing the damn gloves, and I like how he grounded himself out on the Mercedes and ran his batteries dry. Oh my God.
It made me think of fucking Final Destination. Don't touch the doors.
Feet off the ground. Don't touch anything in the car. That was Ryan. He's like, I heard this on TV, and I'm like, oh God, this is not going to go well. That he actually had the smart decision. Just don't touch anything.
Yeah, get your feet up. Which, anyway, yeah.
Not much else to talk about with that episode. I enjoyed it, but for a while I'm like, he's only just killing kids, and then he started killing adults. I'm like, why weren't you just killing fucking adults the entire time?
they're not as fun.
I guess. Trying to do something a little bit wilder, I guess.
And the adults would be missed. Not everyone was smart enough to go fucking hunting homeless people in the Central Park.
I guess not. God. Well, they shot this in LA, so.
Yes, but I found out that apparently it was set in Chicago. I'm like,
Oh, is that where it was set at? I don't think
Yeah.
they ever disclosed that.
I
Okay.
always thought it was like New England or someplace like that, but okay.
Yeah, I thought it was more like kind of Boston-ish area or something.
Yeah. Especially when they like
Hmm.
the next episode. Oh, it's up the coast.
Yeah.
What coast?
It's like you're talking Boston, then you also got like Maine. That would make sense to me, but California, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I thought the Pennonites were, like someplace in, Maine.
Or yeah, that would make sense to me. Just saying.
The Scarecrow.
There's more chance for like pirate stuff on that side anyway than California.
Yeah. Like none of that shit.
Nope. But, after the Electrocutioner, we do the 2 Pennonite episodes, Quilt of Hathor and Quilt of Hathor Awakening. So we had our first 2-parter in this season. And then we hit Double Exposure, the one I remember the most, where the network TV host using an old camera and old film negatives to create a duplicate of himself to do killings and then call himself while he's live on TV. And have the perfect alibi. Hey, I was broadcasting. I didn't kill nobody. And this is a wild one, everybody, because network TV actually catches everything on camera at the very end and nothing ever comes of it.
Yeah, but they keep rolling.
They keep rolling, though.
They keep rolling. Like, they knew what they had. They pin it on the guy. They can't explain it, but they pin it on the guy because that was the hot story.
Yeah.
And that was realistic. I appreciated that.
Oh, yeah.
But this is another one of those episodes where it kind of earned that violence that people were bitching about. Like,
yes,
they did a good job on the special effects of the doppelganger coming to life out of the vat of acid or whatever it was.
That was gnarly. I was looking for like named directors, but I wasn't catching any names this second half. I mean, they're all very decent directors. All the episodes were really well done. So,
yeah, and then the story was the angle was really interesting. Like, why do you always have to destroy me? Well, it's either you or me. Like, one of the two of them has to hold that negative of him and destroy it within 5 hours.
I like it was self-aware enough to say, why do you always kill me?
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, okay, this is going to be fun. Which way is this going to go? Because once he says that, one of them is going to try to live, or is sentient enough to know that it's got a choice.
That was so much fun at the very end, where the main prime guy just dies and vanishes into thin air, but this dude's already stabbed himself in the chest, and then he says, I'm alive.
Well,
and then dies like right away.
The blood turned from green to red. Yep. Like it went from being a monster to being a human. And he's like, I'm a real boy.
And then dies. Yeah. It's like short-lived. You had your 1 second of life.
Yeah. Glad it was worth it. Like all the people that you just hacked up with the machete.
Yep. You earned yourself a one-way ticket to hell, buddy.
To hell with the other guys.
And Uncle Lewis.
And Uncle Lewis.
But this episode has Kathy in it, who is also known as Catherine Disher. You might recognize that name. She was a voice of Val Cooper in X-Men 97. She's also the voice of Jean Grey in the original X-Men, the animated series. She's also been in quite a few other shows. I know her very well from Forever Night, so I recognized her voice, and then I recognized her in Forever Night, but I had to look her up, and I found out she was also in War of the Worlds TV Season 2.
You know, we
The
can't,
season that we did not review.
we can't keep holding that shit against people. I mean, like it was a soap opera. Everybody was taking whatever they could at that point.
Yep.
Even the shitty shows.
But she did some good work. Forever Night was great. The original X-Men, the animated series, Jean Grey, top notch.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you could speak better to X-Men 97 with Val Cooper. I still haven't caught it myself, so I don't know who that is or what she did.
She is a government liaison.
Okay.
To the mutant community, and she betrays the mutants by anyway. Yeah, she's a bitch.
Yeah. Well, I appreciated the horror aspects about this episode where they basically replicate a Michael Myers killing scene from the original Michael Myers. He breaks down the closet doors, walks in, and slaughters the girlfriend. Poor Ryan, he's now lost 2 girlfriends in as many episodes.
Oh, this was his second girlfriend.
Yep, this was immediately after the Pennanite episode. So
that's right.
While the other one did not die, they broke up at the very end, and then he falls in love again, gets this one killed, and immediately snaps. It's like I was talking to Kevin privately through Messenger when we watched this episode, and I basically said, "Boy, this is a whole fuck with Ryan episode show now."
Meanwhile, Mickey's like trying to fight her feelings for him and trying to get him to like stay. Well, you know why you should stay. I know why I should stay, but I'm gonna go fuck that chick over there.
Yeah, I'll split those uprights.
She's 19. Mm-hmm. She don't
Can
shave.
you hammer a 6-inch spike through a board with your penis?
Not right now.
A girl's gotta have her standards.
Girls gotta have standards.
19 or not, she's Pennanite, dude. She's gonna have a beard.
Grow it out, girl. No, I like this episode. I remembered this one very well. So when I was watching it again, I'm like, this is fun.
I didn't remember that. Like, I think the first one I really started to remember. Well, you know what? Well, we'll get to it. I'll bring it up when we get to it. It's later on, like much later on still.
Yeah. Well, we only got a few left. Next up is Foghorn. Pirate's Promise. I'm sorry, I just wrote Foghorn down because that's how I always knew this episode is. It's the Foghorn episode.
So this one I might have vaguely remembered. The pirate himself, I think I might have remembered.
The skull face when you finally get the reveal.
Yeah, but like I'm still sitting here waiting for an episode. Like, now surely one of these is going to be an episode that I remember like just struck me as a kid.
Yeah,
no,
like me with the double exposure episode.
Yeah,
or the B episode sometime coming up in the next season or two.
None of it. Like maybe the Cupid episode from it was part 2 or episode 2. Might have remembered the savage looking little Cupid, but no, so far not yet. And even then, I don't think I fully remembered what I thought I remembered. Anyway, we'll get to there. So we're in the Pirate's Promise, where they actually do show pirates now.
It's National Talk Like a Pirate Day for all of us wondering when we record this episode.
That is actually true. That's true. But it was fun. Like it was kind of the Foggish, where the guy,
I wrote that down. I'm like, this is the fog.
It's the yeah, pretty much. But I liked it though. It was really cool. And then I didn't really put it together. The bad guy had really great presence, great speaking ability.
Yep.
And I look up his name and I'm like, Cedric Smith.
That sounds familiar, I said to you. I'm
like,
who is that?
And I look and I was like, no fucking way. And I press play and I'm listening to him talk. And then it just ruined the rest of the episode for me. It's Professor X from X-Men, the animated
series. Yeah.
And For the next half hour, I'm listening to Professor X talk about murdering 7 people to like get bounties and shit like that. And it was a neat episode that like kind of got you into the history of sailor lineage. And there's a lot of these people in this community that are very proud that their ancestors sailed with so and so, and their ancestor sailed with that motherfucker over there. Well, this particular ancestor sailed with a guy that was his crew went mutiny. They left him on some island, and he vowed revenge. And now he's getting it. Like he's got somebody to blow this foghorn for him, and he will offer up gold if he kills like the descendants of the people that mutinied against him. And again, I'm here for it. It's not so silly that I'm rolling my eyes. Like I'm having a good time watching it. And he gets to a point where it's like, okay, now there's one extra person. No. There's still one extra person. And you kind of have a feeling of where it's going to go. Like the guy doing all the killing is going to end up being the last person somehow.
Or he's going to get betrayed, or he's going to end up dead one way or another.
Yeah, and you just don't know what it is, and it stresses you out. Like, how the fuck is he gonna get it? And he does get it. Like,
he certainly tries to get away from it, though.
The town historian finds out that he was adopted, and that his parents were one of them, or his grandparents was like part of the mutinous crew too. So it's like for the historian that knows everything about all these legends, he didn't realize that's where he came from.
And that the guy killing everybody is his brother. That was the plot twist where I'm like, okay, I'm done with this episode. I'm like, what the fuck? The historian didn't even catch that his proper lineage, or that he had a fucking brother.
Yeah, like take the character of Mike from It and make him completely inept at his job. And that's what this historian was. And you're like,
I mean, I wanted to like the guy, but at the end, I'm like, kind of had it coming.
Meanwhile, Mickey's like, he tried to save me. Well, he did save you.
He was a stud. She wanted to sleep with him.
He just didn't save himself after that. So,
yeah.
But it was cool. Like there was this underground cavern while the tide's out where the captain had all of the bodies of all the descendants of the crew. And you're
with
like,
axe buried in a skull.
Yeah. It's like, that's cool. That's way cool. I don't know how Ryan found all that shit, but that's cool. The only thing that kind of swerved me is I thought Mickey was going to end up being one of the descendants. Cause she was like, I always felt like I was going to die at sea. Well, you live in Chicago. How the fuck did that work out?
Yeah, right. Landlocked and everything. Oh, well. I enjoyed the episode. I definitely got the fog vibes. The only thing I think would have been missing would have been a nice cameo from Adrian Borbo being like, just driving into town, hearing a foghorn and going, nope, and driving right back out.
That first lady, when he drops her into the pirate's boat, I would have just loved to see her head go, Tom Stewart killed me.
Oh, that horn. I liked it when he cranked it up next to the lady's head. She's like, Jesus fucking Christ. That's bad.
My contents. Wah.
That's what gets the girls going. Is blowing your horn, everybody.
Holler into my fatty. Anyway.
It was a fun episode. Just kind of got a little goofy in the very end, but I appreciated it, and I liked how everybody kept sneaking into the same damn window. You think he'd start locking his windows for the damn lighthouse.
No shit. Like, just nail it shut. One fucking nail.
Yep.
Or Mickey or Ryan's finger dexterity holding on by his
oh my god. I forgot about that.
Pulling himself all the way back up over the ledge. I'm like, bad motherfucker. Take that, Solid Snake. Meh.
Yeah, right. Watch out, Kratos. You got a new climber who can rival you. Spider-Man, move out of the way.
American Ninja Warrior ain't got shit on Ryan.
Nope. Ryan, total badass. And he's fresh out of college.
That's true.
Best years are ahead of you, buddy. Just don't get married.
It's funny because it's true.
Well, we have to protect our honor, Kevin. Badge of honor number 23.
Could not pay attention during this episode for several reasons. First of all, I couldn't not hear badge of honor throughout the entire show. Secondly, once you see the cop, who's an older, overweight, balding cop, and his chief or sergeant is a younger, more athletic, more outgoing looking kind of person, you're just kind of like, who was the casting director on this one?
Yeah, I was not down. Of all the episodes of this entire season, I think this one takes the cake instead of the Baron episode for me, as this is my least favorite episode. There's a lot I like in it, but the casting of that dude as the near retirement age of a cop, having him be, completely like off the rails and gung-ho and busting into jumping the gun on a bus and getting somebody killed.
That was fucking stupid.
I'm
so
like,
stupid.
I was out the second that happened. I don't even remember this fucking episode as a kid. I'm sure I watched it, and I know I've probably watched this like when I got the DVDs a long time ago, but he just did not work for me, and it took me right out of the episode. I was more invested in what was going on with, Mickey and her new boyfriend Tim, that used to be an old flame of hers, who you think is some weird assassin dude who's dealing in counterfeit money, and he ends up just being a Fed who's undercover. And they all die anyway.
Yeah, he's just a spy.
But at least she got laid.
Yeah, and Ryan had to listen to it too, the poor motherfucker.
Oh God, he had to listen to the beginning of the episode. Mickey voluntold Ryan that he's staying and you will take care of his fucking shit, Ryan.
Yeah, take his luggage up to my room. Fuck off!
I like how he actually called her out on it too, and she's just in like, oh, my old boyfriend.
Yeah, I'm too busy dripping from my anyway. Like consideration for her cousin was like completely at it, and I feel dirty for saying that. Consideration for the guy that she likes in general just completely went out the window.
Yeah.
The 80s. But he was a dream motherfucker. That's why he had to go. But anyway, yeah, the Badge of Honor episode, I didn't care for that one. Kind of like we talked about before with Pipe Dream. The artifact is this sheriff star that you just have to touch somebody with it and it kills them. Like works like a bug zapper. And so it's basically Frank Castle if he was old, fat, and inept. Sincerely old, fat, and not good at his job
at all.
But he's got a way of killing people now that was without a gun. You just have to touch them with the star, and they just die. And so
the backstory on that was like it was some sort of serial killer who thought he was Jesse James, and he had a badge. That was it.
Well, they said he was a serial killer. And that he thought he was Jesse James. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe he was framed for those murders. We don't know. Or maybe it was James Jesse, like Jesse James, but twisted and backwards.
Not modern day Jesse James. Wild Wild West Jesse James. Sorry, everybody.
Oh, I was still talking about Mark Hamill, the trickster. But anyway, Sorry, call back to the Flash.
Fun episodes, everybody.
I
Reverend Schilling.
I could have also done without Badge of Honor. Badge of Honor and Pipe Dreams were kind of that and episode 13, Baron's Bride. Those are my mess.
Yeah, this is definitely up there for the mez for me as well.
But see, even Pipe Dreams had a redeeming quality of Ryan's dad being like the key figure of the story. So it's like the story itself at least kept me engaged.
Yes, which is our next episode anyway. So it's as good a time as any to move away from the shit show of Badge of Honor to Pipe Dreams. Which the pipe looked freaking dope. That was killer. I totally appreciated that. I'm not really into pipes at all, but I appreciate the art. My grandfather used to like his pipes back in the day, but he wasn't really smoking them at the very end anyway. So
no, but I mean, there is like, especially with the old German pipes, a truly artistic value to them.
Yeah.
Like you do have to appreciate that to a degree. I always wanted to smoke a pipe other than weed. But my wife never let me, and I'm afraid of my wife. So I just never got into it. But looking at this one, I'm kind of like, oh man, I'd smoke weed out of that. And I'm like, oh, devil lettuce.
Ideas.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, the episode overall, like his dad's like a weapons dealer, or well, a struggling entrepreneur who grew disenfranchised with his job, always looking for something new to make a quick buck or just kind of get along in life. He could never settle down, especially after Ryan's brother died. Have they even talked about his mom at all? I feel like I missed something with that.
I don't think so. No, not yet.
Yeah, because she's not in the picture because he was getting married to his like longtime girlfriend here. Or if he ran off with his secretary. I don't know exactly how they met. They didn't really get into that too much. They've just been together for a long time.
Yeah, she was the likable character. Like
I know.
She's the one that invited Mickey and Ryan, Ryan, to come to the wedding because she wanted to meet her stepson and they needed to bury the hatchet.
And the dad was just like, fuck, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, like, thanks, bitch. My weekend was already going shitty. The fucking Packers lost. I mean, excuse me, the Bears.
Yeah. Or whoever. Does Chicago have a real NFL team? Oh, we just lost real subscribers and viewers on our channel now.
Fodor's not going to show up no more.
Well, that's if we start insulting the Cubs. On to our next topic. No. I did like this episode a lot. I just was a little taken back by like, oh, we're getting into weaponry now as part of the show and arms dealing. Oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. But at least it was something interesting with the pipe. I just didn't really like the slow-mo chase going on. Like anytime somebody would run away, he just casually followed them with his pipe smoking orange smoke. It's like puff, buddy, puff.
And not a single person thought to go like blow the shit back at him.
At least Mickey was trying to tape up the seams on the fucking door.
Yeah, that was smart and interesting.
Yeah, that actually bought her time for whatever the hell kind of scuffle that was between Ryan and his dad.
Yeah, but at least Jack pointed out, he made the same decision that Lewis did, only he made his decision out of love for you as opposed to Lewis just having a moment of
arrogance and
cowardice, basically.
Yep. Well, his dad found out too late, like what he was doing, and was like, "I can't do this. This is killing my son. What the fuck am I doing?" As opposed to Lewis, who's like, "I don't want to give my soul to the devil. I want to keep doing what I'm doing."
This episode also reminded me of an episode of The Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Where you find out that Peter's dad is kind of a con man.
Yeah.
And he's selling ponchos as anti-ghost jackets.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, and he's he's selling them as Dr. Venkman.
Was that a later season or was that early season?
That's early.
Oh, shit.
That's in the first season, I think.
I don't think I have that.
If it's not boxed up, I'll burn that one.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, and that's the same year. So I mean, it could have been a flop story between, you know, somewhere at Sony and somewhere at Paramount. I don't know, but it had another one of the artifacts that was more of a weapon as opposed to a cursed thing.
Yeah. It still had evil mojo on it. It just was more offensive than a manipulative sort of weapon.
It might as well have been a gun. It really might as well have been, and that's where I lost interest in it.
Well, that also might also indicate like why they did that episode as like an arms dealing kind of deal, because he was developing the laser sight and trying to draw a parallel between the two. Like, hey, we're doing something a little more aggressive with this episode.
Yeah, but again,
furthering the theme of this show of let's fuck with Ryan more.
Let's fuck with Ryan more. First we beat him, now we're gonna step on his heart. Yeah. Now we're gonna kill his dad.
And then we're gonna really step on it with his dad.
It was fun beating on Ryan. He took it well because he had Jack there to take care of him. Because Jack was his real dad. He was his Mary Poppins.
Well, and Jack even did pretty good with his little fight against his dad, even though he got flipped.
He got flipped and leaned up against a fucking target, an explosive target.
I kind of remembered that part, like how, like, yeah, I think I remember, like, Ryan's gonna notice like his hand drops, and then his hand dropped like about 3 seconds later. I'm like, yeah, I remember this.
I remember this. Oh, see, I already forgot his goddamn name again. I'm gonna have to look it up.
But this is also like where we finally got Jack back after 2 episodes of not really being around, because he wasn't in Pirate's Promise or Badge of Honor.
Oh, he wasn't, was he?
Nope.
Yeah, and when Jack's gone, he really is sorely missed. Like,
yeah,
even when he doesn't have a scene with the kids, like they're calling him and he's giving backstory to whatever they're looking for, and it works out really well. Each of the characters work really well and bring something to this family.
Oh, absolutely. And Chris Wiggins just freaking kills it as Jack Marshak.
Yeah.
Now, when we get to season 3 eventually, you know, when Ryan leaves the show and we get the new guy, while the show changes, if they had switched out Jack, Chris Wiggins, for somebody else, I think that absolutely would have fucking killed the show in a heartbeat.
Probably.
Like, I don't think Robbie was going anywhere, but
no, she's only missing from 2 episodes out of all 72.
Yeah.
Which I say good for her. Which again is weird because she didn't really do much after this.
Oh yeah, you were saying something earlier about that, yeah.
I believe it was defined as a erotic thriller.
Like a Cinemax film?
Yes.
Like Cinemax?
Yes. And she did that music video for One Night in Bangkok.
One Night in Bangkok.
Those boobs are oysters, but the pearls ain't free.
Come upstairs and see my itching.
I'm sorry, I tease just because it's the shtick of the show, but I always had a crush on her. I thought she was cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, I always thought she was pretty when I was a kid too, so I grew up being a fan.
And made me think that, you know what, there could be a hot redheaded ghost hunter somewhere in this world. And a few years later, we got introduced to Dana Scully, and so I guess that kind of kept my fucking fascination perpetuated throughout life.
I would not be surprised if Friday the 13th influenced X-Files, even just a tick.
I would hope, because golly, it's got enough of that that great episodic storytelling of being an anthology series, but still maintaining a general plot throughout.
Yeah, I mean, while Uncle Lewis is kind of like missing from a large part of the story this second half, they keep referencing him every now and then. And then in this Pipe Dream episode, they talk about him quite a bit and how he actually was pretty close with Ryan's dad.
Yes, yes. Which was fun because like it very much felt like, yes, they were making it all up there on the spot, but it also felt like they were adding in filling to plot holes of like, okay, where are they, like where is Uncle like Uncle Lewis, and they don't fucking know this guy. Okay, well, Ryan's got a shitty home to begin with, so it was never all that great to grow up with.
Right.
And you know, the dad didn't know that he was into the whole magic thing and stuff like that. So I mean, they answer a bit of it.
Oh yeah, and they also kind of explain a little bit about like, you know, how like the relationship between the whole family has worked. Like when they show up with Mickey and he's like, and who's this? Oh, it's Mickey. It's cousin Catherine's daughter.
Yeah.
And so you get a little more like, oh, that's how this kind of ties in a little bit. I mean, granted, we still don't know who cousin fucking Catherine is, but
We
at the
know
same
there's a
time,
cousin Catherine. Yeah.
yeah, it's like cousin Catherine. And he's like, oh yeah, yeah. He's got that little like nod of the head. It's like whoever was reading these lines and like the actors did a great job. The directors were on point to kind of ensure like and acknowledge in some sort of way that you know who he's talking about.
Yes. And like that, it's just old hat. Like, I don't know you, but oh, okay, I know of you.
Yeah, and I know Catherine. Yeah, okay, that makes sense now.
And like, I'm half Portuguese, so it's like we have cousins that are very much like that. Your cousin so and so's from like fifth. Anyway.
Yeah. But you know, it's a pretty good episode, and the dad dies, so
which you're not sad about. But I had to ask my wife, I'm like, is this the grandpa from fucking Big Fat Greek Wedding? She's like, the dad. Whatever. Like,
I've never seen that movie actually.
It's good. The first one's good.
Okay.
Yeah, like it is an entertaining movie.
Okay.
The dad has this thing where it's like every word comes from like the Greek language. It's all like somehow changed from Greek, not Latin. And that he is a descendant of Alexander the Great. So like
that's pretty funny.
They alter his ancestry.com to make it look like, yes, he is an ancestor of Alexander the Great. So it ends with him going,
oh God,
I told you, everyone. It's pretty funny.
Okay, I'll have to add that to the list too. Now we're gonna get on off to the last two. Probably more like the last real episode of this of this season, episode 25. I didn't write the name of this one down.
What a Mother Wouldn't Do.
Oh, I did write it down then. I thought that was one of my comments.
No. Bitch, you nasty.
Because one of the next things is like, oh, we're gonna get into the abortion theme now.
Yeah.
Well, and boy, they hit you over the head with that like real quick too.
That was something that my mother was told when I was in utero, was like there was going to be complications, that I was not going to make it full term, and that I should be aborted.
In Minecraft.
No. In real life.
No, that's how you avoid the algorithm, Kevin. In Minecraft.
In Minecraft, yes. It didn't work out. I turned out okay. I've annoyed people since then. Is my way of saying thank you. But anyway, so this was kind of like that, except for this lady just like can't make the decision to save her life over the child's, even though the child's not going to have a full term expectancy. So she goes wandering off throughout Chicago all by herself at night, and runs across Curious Goods, and there's this old wooden cradle in the window staring at her and calling her. And Uncle Lewis basically calls her into the store and offers her a cup of tea while I tell you the story of this cradle. And you get to see Lewis hunting, basically. And that part was really cool for me. Like, I thought it was neat to see him fucking playing on this lady's emotion, knowing that he wasn't going to sell it to her right then and there, but he had her hook, line, and sinker.
He was planting the seeds so that, you know, she could tell somebody else and get it at her baby shower, possibly.
Yeah, like he could have sold it for a fucking dollar, and it would have benefited him just as much as $1 million. Like, as long as he sold it to her, like, he won.
You saw Uncle Lewis and his evil habitat like no other. Like, dude was a total straight car salesman here.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh damn.
But this cradle, if she sacrificed 7 people, her child would one, reach full term and then live beyond. And like, every time the cradle would get hungry, the child would start choking and gasping on air and stuff like that. And the mom was just a sick bitch, like, well, we've got to kill somebody, clearly.
Poor husband was whipped.
Yeah, and like, he's getting stomach cancer because he can't stand the thought of fucking having to kill people. And she's basically calling him a spineless pussy the entire time. And it was not a bad episode, but I think this was the one where I'm kind of like, oh, I vaguely remember this. Like, I remember the mom being a complete psycho and then being so like focused on the dark silhouette of this crib.
Okay, yeah.
But I thought I remembered seeing a child's skeleton in it. So I think that's probably another episode merging together.
Very well could be. That sounds familiar now that you mentioned that.
Yeah, like they needed to look over a kid and there's like a corpse in the bed or the casket, what have you. That's something I very much remember, and I want to say it's from Friday the 13th, just not this season.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what season that might be, but that sounds oddly familiar too.
I'm gonna have to go through the synopsis is on IMDb.
Yeah.
Gonna cheat. Uncle Cliff.
Cliff notes, let's go. But one of the important things to note is that this cradle was from the Titanic.
Yeah.
It involved 7 people and a baby on a raft, and the 7 people sacrificed their lives to save the baby. So,
yeah. So how long did that fucking baby live? Because like, she sunk the boat to sacrifice just 7 people, and like hundreds of folks died.
It was some weird thing. All I could think of when I heard that, I'm like, so Jack could have gotten on the door.
Yeah, right. Or is this how Chaz got all those fucking lives? Like in Constantine?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like a lot more than 7 people died for that. But yeah, they made up a nice little story about, 7 rich people letting themselves die or sacrificing themselves for the poor child. It's like, that's total bullshit, especially if it was
That is not how that probably went. It was probably way darker. But the story's been told so many times. This is how it really went.
That baby got dumped out and somebody sat in that wood thing like it was their own little personal boat.
Probably. But I enjoy this episode. I like the violence to it. I like the compelling, like, just story of it entirely. And I feel bad for the husband, but he was just as complicit as everybody else. And I really like how it ended, where basically the babysitter takes the kid, and because she loved the kid in general anyway. And the kid, the curse was fulfilled. The cradle's back in the vault, which is now filling up crazy enough too. That's been a theme that's been going on the last few episodes of this season, is like, oh shit, the vault's filling up, we need to find space for things. And I really enjoy, I really like the ending where they're on the bus and the babysitter's got the baby, and it's with somebody that loves it and will take care of it.
Yeah. And she was wearing some thick ass shoulder pads, so no matter what came her way,
She was going to road warrior pop everybody.
For real. She had some thick ass shoulder pads.
Oh, what a rush.
Yoked.
Yeet.
Yeet.
No, that was a fun one. I like how the episodes are getting a little bit clever as well with the storytelling. So I think the writers finally got it all dialed in. Wish they had a more dialed in for Bottle of Dreams, the last episode, Kevin.
I watched the first 15 minutes of this, and I was having to tell my wife, "Oh, that's Annabelle," or whatever the name of the doll's.
Yeah,
called the doll. I called her Annabelle because it very clearly is that. And like she was watching it, and I'm sitting there kind of going like, "Well, fuck, okay, it's been 15 minutes. Do we really need to sit there and like recap this much of the story?" And then I realized, like, well, wait a second. Surely this isn't a clip show. Yeah, it's a clip show.
yeah.
Mickey and Ryan get presented by some Middle Eastern guy a canopic jar that they go to take into the vault.
Yep.
And it breaks itself open, and they start breathing in this gas that doesn't turn them into zombies. It makes them relive the worst moments of their lives, which also happened to be interacting with that artifact from previous this season, that artifact from previous this season, this artifact from previous this season.
Yep.
And all I could think of is it's going to make them relive some of the wackiest moments from this season.
This time on Friday the 13th, the show.
Remember that one time that we like okay, fast forward.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I fast forwarded through a lot of the memories as well, just to get to basically this was the Jack Marshak show in this episode, which it would have been better if it was just an entire Jack Marshak episode. If you're going to do that, just fucking just go full bore with it. Just give it to him.
Yeah, it was supposed to introduce Rashid, who is a character that didn't work out anyway.
Yeah. They mentioned him a few times throughout the season, but this is the first time you actually see him.
And then the last time is the follow-up to or the premiere to season 2 from what I read.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't work out that someone would have more knowledge than Jack. Like that's just Jack's purpose, so let's keep that with Jack. Makes sense.
I mean, you could, if you wanted to, you could bring him around like maybe once every 7 or 8 episodes. Just keep it to like an episode or 2.
Yeah, like the lone gunman.
You need the backup.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there was really no payoff for me to watch this episode.
Yeah. The most you got was Uncle Lewis is still around trying to fuck with everybody, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
See, I didn't even hear that part.
Well, yeah, because, Lewis is, he basically set up this whole plot for this to happen. He wanted Mickey and Ryan to die and to somehow take Jack out and resume his place in his own store to send out the evil goods everywhere amongst the world. He didn't want to be in hell anymore. He wanted everybody else in hell instead of him. And so basically at the end, he's a reflection in the mirror. That's the last shot of the episode is him in the mirror laughing, being like, I'm not going anywhere, bitches. Peace out.
Bitches.
If he was 60 years younger, I could have totally seen him doing that in the mirror.
Bitches. I'll be back, He-Man.
I'll get you and your little kitty too.
I don't know. I like that there was more of Uncle Lewis than I remember there being as a kid.
I know, right? I thought he was only in like 2 episodes as a kid.
I didn't even think he was in that many. I thought he was just in the intro.
Right.
Like whoa, shit, okay, that's cool. I didn't realize that he was a famous actor. I was like, oh shit, that's even cooler.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
And that you did get to see his character be a true scumbag. Like they didn't keep it to, oh, he went altruistic at that last moment. No, that altruism fucked him, and he learned his lesson.
Yep.
So
it was a fun season, Kevin.
it was. I liked this one way better than War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
But I can't say that it's better than Freddy's Nightmares. Maybe so. A little less cheesy.
Like this. Yeah, I like this a little bit better. The stories are a bit tighter. The acting's a bit better.
Yeah.
But the sleaziness of Freddy and his lines and host segments in that show are top notch. So they're great companion shows. I can't say that they're bad, but I'm going to give the edge to, Curious Goods myself because I fucking love this show.
I would say so. It was good on its own without needing to show Jason. Like, again, I think this would have been just fine calling it Curious Goods, like you said. It didn't need to have the Friday the 13th title to it. It was just a good show.
Yeah.
The Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street needed to have the Freddy bumpers to it in order for it to have any sort of it needed to have Freddy in it.
Yeah, like you can't just say Freddy's Nightmares and then Freddy's not fucking in it.
Yeah, this was so good where you're kind of like, well, there's still no Jason, but God, that was a fun episode.
Right. With Freddy's, if you're going to name it something else entirely like Elm Street.
Yeah. Elm Street Nightmares, something to that effect. Don't put Freddy's name in it.
Yeah, then that would have been fine, but
yeah, they almost shot themselves in the foot. Almost.
I mean, they tried to retcon too much on that show too anyway, but
yeah. They made it better later.
Yeah, they did it better later.
Ow.
So that's how you smash a TV over the head. But I love this show. I love this season. I'm glad we got to rewatch it. Kevin, you got any final thoughts before we say goodbye to everybody?
Oh, golly, this was a good one. I will finish watching the rest of it sooner rather than later. I'm glad I bought this. I've always wanted this DVD set. It's one of the few that I've always wanted, never bought, and now I have it. It's wanted it pretty much since like shit. Well, I'd say back when Briscoe first came out and it was like a $70 set, $80 set. This is one of those things where I'm kind of like, oh, I want that too. But it was so expensive because it's 72 episodes. It's affordable now.
Yeah, it's like $35 right now.
Yeah, get it. It's worth your money. This is as good of a steal as finding, Batman the Animated Series for $25. Like, it's worth your time. It's cheesy, it's soap opera-ish, but it's fun. It's peak TV from a different time.
Absolutely. Very well said. I really like how you put that, buddy.
Peak television.
Damn right it was peak TV. Good writing, decent acting at times, to pretty good at times. Can't really go wrong, and I appreciate this show for what it did and what it still provides today. Wish it was a little more accessible on streaming for everybody, but that being said, highly recommend that DVD. We'll have a link in the description down below. Now, everybody, we're not going to be going into season 2 right away. We will be getting to season 2 soon, though. There's another Friday the 13th coming up in another month or so, and we'll incorporate that then. So don't worry, everybody. We'll get back to this one sooner rather than later. But what we have coming up next is Blade, the live-action TV show, everybody, which is actually pretty decent. So, and it's been a long time since that's been on, and that stars Sticky Fingers. So if you remember him and that show that was on Spike TV, that is what we are doing next. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you being with us this time. Hit that like button down below. And when you subscribe to us, hit that little bell notification so you can stay tuned to all of our video content. And we will see you on the next one.